Hi, I'm Jennifer Poole,
And I'm Dave Poole.
and this is our 20 days.
There you are. That's a little better. But so, I've actually got 3 cameras on me at the moment. So what you're looking at now is kind of the normal, view that I use. And then I've got an inexpensive Chinese camera that I'm trying out that is, it's only 1080p instead of 4K, but it's $100. And it was like, all right, well, let's try that. Because the one that I normally use is a Sony mirrorless Easy 10 V10, something like that. It's a very, very higher end video blogging camera, that's more like with the lens, more like $900. And then I've got a third one that I'm now trying that is more of it's what they call a PTZ camera, pan tilt zoom. So it's be very, very much akin to what you've seen in video conference rooms, things like that. But I think the lens quality might be a little worse. I mean, you notice that, my image color here is a little different than the others. It's a little darker, a little yellower. So I've got a device that lets me record all 3 of those things at once, which is what I'm doing offline here. But for these purposes, it's just whichever one of the 3 cameras I choose. So right now I'm choosing my normal camera. So I've got some consistency in these podcasts. So anyway, so I was trying to get all that set up, and it was like literally 2 minutes till, and it's like, oop, I don't have anything to drink. Oop, I got to go to the bathroom. Oop, 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 oop. So anyway, so how you been this week?
Doing okay. I am now using a 4K camera. I bought one for a total of $30 last week.
Yep.
I thought, well, between what urged it besides this podcast, I thought hopefully this is a little bit better quality on that you're saying. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Well, and what's interesting about this Riverside software is what you and I see on screen of each other right now is a quote unquote low res image. They just do something so you can kind of get the sense of what's going on in the other. But what ends up happening behind the scenes is it's actually recording the high quality image to your local hard disk and uploading it in pseudo real time. It's a few seconds behind. So that's why if you notice at the end of our podcast, once I hit stop, it takes, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds to kind of finish uploading all the high quality stuff. So what I see right now isn't what I will see on the actual produced video. So I can't really tell right now that you've got anything any different than you normally do. But when I go to edit the video, it'll be obvious that that's the case.
Yeah, it'll probably take a few more seconds this time to upload this video, since it's probably
higher res.
Yeah, 5 times as dense is what I was using.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
But the other reason I did it was my daughter got an iPad Pro, and when we FaceTime this time, I went, wow, that's a tremendous improvement on your side. So
yeah,
I'm just going to keep up with my daughter some way. And the other
I'm sorry, that's an amazing set of technology in and of itself, because something we've done here is, I've said before, my mother-in-law, Marilyn, lives with us, and she's 89. And, Jennifer and I would like to continue to live a regular life where we do things on our own without her all the time. So, but we'd like to be able to check in on her. And she doesn't always carry her phone, or it's downstairs and she's upstairs, and, that sort of thing. So what we've done is I've got a couple of iPads set up around the house, one in her living area, one downstairs in the kitchen, that when I FaceTime that phone number, it automatically picks up on the iPad. She didn't have to do anything. It just pops up.
No.
So I can see if she's in this room. I can see if she's in that room. And can just immediately start talking to her. She didn't have to do anything. And then I control the hang up and everything else. So, it's just, I would imagine, not having children, I would imagine baby monitor types of things are similar, is that you can immediately jump right on those things with with your iPad or your PC or whatever website you might attach to. So it's awesome stuff.
Oh yeah. I wonder how we ever grew up with we actually had to cry our eyes out really hard in order to get mom's attention.
It kind of gets at one of the topics I wanted to touch on today. Just get your thoughts on it. Is the broad word I'll use is instrumentation. Is the ability now to track just about everything. And it starts with things like what made me think of this is my dog is now a little over a year old, and he's a pretty exuberant guy. And I'm old enough that if he ever got away from me and decided to just bolt, I have no chance of catching him, none. And so, what can you do about things like that? We're in a big neighborhood, a lot of woods. So it was like, well, could we get an air tag, and hang on his collar? So I think we're going to do that just so we kind of know where he is if he ever gets away from us. And so I think that's one of the great things of instrumentation is now. I will tell you, I've had a couple of false alarms. The Apple technology they use is called Find My, I think. So you can find your iPad, you can find your phone, you can find your laptop, you can find your AirTag. And every now and again, I get these false positives that say someone's following you. This AirTag is it's synchronized with your movements. And it's like, well, yeah, it should be. It's my laptop. So I've never had one where it was actually something that I couldn't explain. But I just am amazed at these days. And you're a sports fan, I know. You were or are a Browns fan, as I recall.
That's great. Correct.
Yeah. So I grew up as a Bengals fan, but the NFL stuff just intrigues me. And I guess it's Amazon's AWS service that provides most of the nuts and bolts behind the scenes for it. But the fact that not just scouting combine numbers, but like during a game, you can say Christian McCaffrey reached a top speed of 23.6 miles per hour on this 80-yard run. That's just stunning to me. That the data we can collect, and that the whole injury science things, and NBA players now tracking not just minutes but exertion levels. So you're not really just kind of LeBron James at 39 years old can't play 48 minutes a night, but okay, he should play 42 minutes a night or 38 minutes a night. Well, it's not minutes; it's exertion that matters. I just find that intriguing. I just wonder if you had any thoughts on the topic.
Well, I like the statistics. Like this guy was running this fast because that's to me that's a statistic, but it's a pure, what I would call a pure statistic.
Yeah.
What I see is like in golf. They'll have this guy's lining up a putt. It's 17 feet. The average is 32% make rate. And he drains it. Well, this guy happens to be leading the tournament. And I don't think the statistics for the guy who's leading the tournament could be the same as, the average guy, particularly if you added in the guys that didn't make the cut and then all that stuff. It's like, okay. But it's amazing that, I think they do that. And then, of course, they don't explain exactly what that 32 is. It
right.
Really should be him making a 32-foot putt in his history versus.
Yeah, there's a big difference between John Daly, a notoriously long hitter but not a great putter, versus a Ben Crenshaw, who was a great player but most well known for being just fabulous on and around the greens. Those statistics have to vary on the same putt in the same conditions. John Daly's not going to make as many of those putts as Ben Crenshaw's going to make.
Yeah, the announcers will say, "Oh, that was the leaders were coming through the 17th hole. That's the closest shot we've seen on this par 3 all day." Well, that's probably because why they're
makes
leading.
sense.
So I like, as I said, I like the pure statistics, the ones that I don't know if you remember the DK Metcalf caught
Oh
this
yeah.
guy for an interception, and that was fascinating to me how quickly. And he was, he's still a couple miles an hour behind Usain Bolt, but still, it's
Yeah.
for a guy that's wearing pads and probably weighs
Weighs
another
a
50.
lot more than Usain Bolt does. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I do like those. It really does kind of make you add to the amazement of how good these guys are.
Well, and I grew up and still am a big baseball fan, Cincinnati Reds baseball fan, and there was a point here just a couple of years ago now where the statistics just in my mind just about ruined the sport. Baseball might be the most statistically managed game in history, right? We've got
Mm-hmm.
numbers going back to 1866 on who hit what against what pitcher. It was 72 degrees. It was sunny that day. Wendelstadt was behind the plate. You've got all these statistics, and it led eventually to this thing called the shift. So if the left-handed hitter came to the plate, that's the number 3 hitter in the lineup, he is more likely to hit the ball kind of in the hold of the second baseman. So the shortstop basically plays standing on second base, the third baseman standing where the shortstop should play. And it drastically dropped batting averages because the fielders were, kind of just the opposite of the hit them where they ain't. Well, let's put them where the ball goes. Um, and so you'd end up with these convoluted alignments. And then last year they changed the rules where all the infielders have to have at least 1 foot on the infield dirt or grass, whatever the case might be. And you had to have 2 fielders on either side of second base. So you couldn't as drastically shift. And batting averages went up some number of points. And with the pitch clock and everything else, the speed of the game got better. It got more interesting. Ratings went up. Players are going to make more money. Owners are going to make more money. They might sell less beer because the game's a little shorter. But all in all, it was a good thing for the sport to kind of undo what the statistics had wrought upon them.
Yeah, I agree. I went to a Dayton Dragons game. I guess it was at the end of last year, and I was amazed by just how much more fun the game is when it was sped up. Um, you had to pay more attention. Um, you got out of there maybe 20 minutes or sometimes a half an hour earlier, and I love that. The game had gotten so slow. It was just becoming unfun to watch.
Yeah, and I was browsing through YouTube, I don't know, sometime earlier in the week, which I guess would have been yesterday since today's Tuesday, um, and came across the 1975 Cincinnati Reds versus Boston Red Sox World Series Game 6. That's the infamous game where went 12 innings. Carlton Fisk hits the game-winning home run, in the 12th inning where after he hits it, he's standing up and doing, all the gyrations to, blow the ball back in fair and all that. And the entire 12-inning game took about 2 hours and 45 minutes, if I recall. That's a third more ball game than normally gets played. And it was still under 3 hours. And as recently as a couple of years ago, the average Major League 9-inning game had gotten over 3 hours. So I am ever grateful for whoever's bright idea was it to put in the pitch clock and some of the other things that they've done to speed the game up. Because, especially when you get to playoffs, those games don't start a lot of times till 8:30, 8:45 at night, 9 o'clock, some type cases. And, you're killing your young fans that are going to be the future of your revenue streams. These 8-year-old kids are not going to be allowed to stay up till midnight, 12:30 to watch the rest of a ball game. But if you start at 8:30 and it's a 2 hour and 10-minute game, okay, maybe they can stay up till 10:30, 10:45, 11 o'clock, something like that.
Well, the worst one in my view, because I sit through it so often, is college, and then also more college football, because the amount of time in the commercials and
Oh,
frequency that they take those commercials is
yes.
just ridiculous. Now, if you go to a game that's not being broadcast, like a D2 game or something like that, you're like, wow, this thing really clips along. Yeah,
Yep.
they're exchanging the balls back and forth, and nothing really ever stops except for halftime, and it's so much more enjoyable. It's and I know that when we were working, we got into the science of weighting, and a unknown weight is worse than a known weight and all that. So there's a person who stands out on the field with a clock and he twirls it around, and okay, you've got 3 minutes and 15 seconds later. Well, thank you, but I think at that point they've actually done themselves a disservice, because
Right.
when you actually say how long it is, and you've noticed over the years it keeps getting longer, it just drives you out of your mind.
Oh, and have you been to in person to a major college football game? Well, any time in the last probably 15, 20 years, as they go to these TV commercials, if you're in the stadium, it's an interminable experience. I mean, it is brutal. So you kick off, and after the kickoff, you take a commercial, and it's 3 minutes of everybody kind of standing around. Okay, offense they've known for a week what their first play is going to be. The defense, they've known for a week what their first defensive call is going to be. So everybody's kind of standing around, twiddling their thumbs. And then, it's 3 and out, you punt, they take another 3.5 minute commercial. So you're a half hour in and you've run 3 plays. It's just brutal, if you're in the stadium.
Well, Elaine's sons are both college football coaches, one at Texas A&M and the other one at the University of Buffalo. So yeah, we go to a lot of those games, and they're brutal. Just can't. You almost feel like you got to bring something to do because
right.
I don't care what you put up on the big scoreboard to try to entertain the crowd. It gets crazy.
Yeah, and I still do think, though. I really enjoy pretty much. I haven't been to a soccer game recently, and here in Charleston, we've got a pretty good. I forget what league they're in. It's not the MLS, but it's a notch down from that, the Charleston Battery, and we've been, but it's been years since we've been to a game. So I got to think soccer is one of those that is just ripe for being instrumented as well, because you want to track. I mean, that field is so large, and there's a lot of back and forth, and how many miles does a midfielder run during the course of a game? Or how hard, in baseball, you have things like exit velocity and launch angle as the ball comes off the bat. How about a header in the middle of the field off of, Ronaldo's noggin? Does that come off at 62 miles an hour? And, what's the reaction time of the goalie? And, there's got to be some really entertaining statistics coming off of that, I would think.
Yeah. Absolutely. Soccer is a game I like to play. I'm not a real big fan of watching it. I mean, of course, back in the day when I could, run a lot.
Yeah.
That was obviously what attracted me to it when I tried out for soccer. Run around the field was great, and you get much more of a sense of what the strategy is when you're doing that. Mm-hmm. I watch a soccer game now, and it's just like, other than running up and down, I mean, they don't look as bad as like a bunch of 8-year-olds on the field where they all just kind of cluster around the ball. But darned if I can figure out, is there a strategy? Are there set plays? Or
yeah,
what in the world going on?
I didn't play high school or college or any reasonable level of soccer at all. So you're right. I like in baseball, I could probably quote chapter and verse what the quote book is to do in this situation. I have no idea in soccer what the strategy. Like you said, it's like, what do you do here? Is I wouldn't even begin to know where to start, how to draw up a play on a soccer pitch. Hey, thanks for joining us here at Our 20 Days. We appreciate the time that you invest in our videos and audio podcasts. If you'd like to go to our20days.com, you can join as a member, and you'll be notified every week of new content, and we'd sincerely appreciate that. Thanks, and have a great day.